If you're a coach or a healer and you aren't promoting your services on YouTube or social media because you feel awkward, uncomfortable, and tongue-tied on camera, this video is for you. Today I'm sharing 5 stories I told myself about using a teleprompter and how it turned out to be one of the best tools for me. So if you've thought about scripting out your videos but you haven't, because most YouTube experts, they recommend using an outline and bullet prints because they don't want you to sound robotic or fake, stick around. And the last story, it might be just the one that helps you finally put all of these stories and your own to bed. So let's get started. The first story I told myself was that if I use a script using a teleprompter, I'm going to sound robotic and awkward. And this was my biggest fear because on the surface it really seems valid because no one wants to sound like some animatronic thing at a theme park, right? And we think, if I'm reading, I won't sound like myself. But here's what I realized. The actors in my favorite shows and movies, they bring characters to life from a script, and they don't sound robotic. And why is that? It's not because they're professional actors, it's because they practice saying the words and they make them their own. So here's what I do. Before I hit record, I read through the script a few times out loud. And this is like a table read for a TV show or a movie, right? And then I tweak the script when words feel awkward or I have a hard time saying them. But once my script sounds familiar and comfortable to say, that's when I press record. And I usually repeat the opening sentences a few times until my breathing slows down and my voice relaxes and I start to feel comfortable. Because you know how it is. The adrenaline spikes when you hit the record button, right? Let me know if that happens to you. And then what I do is, once I hit the record button, I just keep going. And I'll share more about that in a little bit. So my phone is recording, and then I stumble over a few words, or I speak faster than the teleprompter is scrolling, or I hit an awkward line break. And what I do is I just pause. I scroll up a few lines, and then I start again. And sometimes I even tweak the script a little bit just on the fly. And here's a pro tip. Pause a second or two between each line. It makes editing so much easier later, especially if you have to restart or repeat a line several times. And a bonus, which I'm going to talk about more in the next point, to reading each sentence a few times, is that you're going to be looking more at the camera lens than at the script. And then the final result, after I've edited, I don't sound as robotic or as awkward as I thought I would. And here's a pro tip for you. If you start to feel frustrated because you're on a particularly tongue-tying sentence, just move on. One of your imperfect takes is probably perfect enough. Don't let it ruin your whole flow. Here's the second story I told myself, that people will be able to tell that I'm reading. And this is a big one. We've all seen it. People reading, you can see their eyes shifting across the screen and you feel disconnected from them. But let me share a quick story with you. I follow a podcaster who never looked at the camera, and viewers would comment that she should look at the camera. Do you know where the lens is on your camera? As a viewer, as someone watching her videos, I was annoyed by those comments. And then in one of her episodes, she actually addressed it. She explained that she's on the autism spectrum, and looking at the camera was really hard for her. She knew she could create her podcast audio only, but she chose to step out of her comfort zone and do it on video on YouTube, which of course made her subject to the judgment of everyone watching, right? She chose to stretch herself. And now she occasionally looks directly into the camera lens. And when I see that, I just want to cheer for her because her growth is so inspiring. Now, granted, her story is not quite the same as my story. It may be slightly different from your story, but it carries that same fear that people will judge us. But you know what? If we're showing up, sharing the message that we came to share, well, look at it this way. Which matters more? How you deliver it or the fact that you're finally saying it out loud? Let me know in the comments if that kind of hits you right here. Oops, got my mic. All right, let's get back to that story about reading your script. I record my videos on my Android phone. I've used a few different teleprompter apps, but the one thing they all have in common is that the script appears very close to where the camera lens is. So you may not be looking directly at the camera lens, but you're pretty darn close. And so even if your eyes shift a little bit, it's barely noticeable. And here's a pro tip for you, and I'm going to take my glasses off so that you can actually see them for this one. Slow the scroll speed down significantly. I usually run mine at about 38 to 42 words per minute, and that way I can see full sentences. I can take my time and I can speak more naturally. So play with the speed as you practice using a teleprompter, and you'll find the speed setting that feels most comfortable to you. So the third story I told, oh, that's so much better. The third story I told myself was it takes too much time to write out a full video script. And this is a true story. Scripting does take more time. It takes so much more time. But the time it saves for me in editing, that's game changing. And the end result is so much better than my unscripted videos. But with a script, I stay on point. I say exactly what I want to say. I don't have to worry about missing a point. And my energy, it stays more consistent throughout the video. So that means no more rambling, no more trying to splice together some high energy tangents with low energy transitions. It's like, have you ever gotten off of a roller coaster and felt a bit wobbly? That's how I would feel in the editing room. In my videos, I'd be plugging along, and then I'd go off on this wild tangent. I have my arms flailing and my voice rising, and then I would crash. And I would have to frantically search in my brain for the point I was intending to make. And sometimes that point, it was just gone. So editing around those energy swings, it was very challenging. And sometimes I would actually scrap the entire video because I just couldn't get it to come together, because I would be talking like this, and then I would have this high energy moment, and then I would try to bring it back to where I started, but my energy was suddenly just so depleted over here, it didn't match where I had started. So now my editing, it takes a lot less time. And I even use my script as a guide so I can quickly cut out those lengthy sections of retakes in just seconds. This is where those pauses between sentences come in really handy. And let me know in the comments if you'd like more information on how I use my script and those pauses to edit my videos to save so much time. Writing out a video script does take more time up front, but it cuts the back end time in editing. Does it equal out? I'm not sure, but probably not. But here's the thing, I find, and I hope you find, my scripted videos easier and more valuable to watch because my energy is more balanced and my messages stay more focused. And if you want a comparison, flip over to my live video tab and see the difference. And here's a pro tip. If you're an overthinker like I am, scripting helps calm your brain by providing the structure it needs to allow your unique brilliance to shine through, which is a perfect segue into story number 4. Story number 4, I told myself that using a teleprompter stifles creativity and free flow thinking. I think what surprised me most about using a script and a teleprompter is that I actually feel more creative. I feel like I present a more coherent version of me to the world. It cracks me up when YouTube experts say, speak naturally, pretend you're talking to just one person. Well, my natural way of speaking is uncomfortable for many people to listen to because I pause a lot. I start a thought and then I pause. I reconsider what I want to say and then I start again because I choose my words very carefully. I think through the flow of what I'm saying, and it can be a long and winding road to my point. But usually when we get there, I've shared a bit of universal wisdom. So writing out a video script, it gives me the space and the time to think before I speak. I can mull over the different paths to my final point and choose just one. And then using a teleprompter, it helps me to stay on that path. And if inspiration strikes mid-recording, I go off script. If it works, great. And if I get myself lost and I can't find my way back, here's a pro tip for you. Roll back your script to the last line before you went off track, and then start from there. It'll ground your energy so that your tone, your energy, it stays consistent as you continue along the scripted path. The fifth story I told myself was that if I mess up, I'll just get all flustered and I'll totally lose my place. And this is a totally valid fear, especially if you're introverted or you tend to perfectionism. But here's what I want you to remember. This is video. It's not live. No one is watching you. You can start and stop as many times as you need. And that means that grace is built into the process. Using a teleprompter is a skill. So is speaking on camera. And you're learning both at once. So give yourself space to be a beginner. For me, knowing I have to record an 8 to 15-minute video script, that feels daunting. Energetically, I just don't know that I can keep the pace even. So what I like to do is I record in sections of 3 to 5 shorter chunks instead of one long video. It helps me conserve my energy. It helps me stay present. And it also helps during the editing process. Because what I do is once I hit the record button, I keep recording until that segment is done. So even though the final video section will only be 2 to 3 minutes, the raw recording, it may be 8, 9, or sometimes even 10 or 11 minutes long. So chunking the video into smaller sections, it makes editing so much easier on both my Sanity and my older laptop. And here's a pro tip. Include the last section of the previous section and the first sentence from the next section in each video clip. And that will keep your video flowing smoothly. And remember, pauses between takes make editing smoother and faster. And your future editing self, she's going to thank you. Some people say that scripting and teleprompters make your message feel less real. But for deep thinkers like us, scripting is how we speak from the heart. It gives us the space to slow down, to choose our words, and to honor our voice. These tools have helped me to show up consistently and share my message more confidently. Inside the Legacy Builders program, we talk a lot about finding tools and rhythms that work for you. Because confidence, it isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about showing up in a way that supports your energy and your message. So if you've considered using a teleprompter, but you've been told not to, I invite, I encourage, and I challenge you to follow your own inner guidance. If you think it will help you get started, try it. If you think it will help you feel more confident and capable on camera, use it. Scripts and teleprompters are tools that won't work for everyone, but they work for me and they might work for you too. The important thing is to use whatever tools help you share your message, because your message matters. Let me know in the comments if any of these stories are keeping you from using a teleprompter and a script. Or let me know what makes you feel more comfortable and confident on camera so we can all learn these tips together. And if you're still not sure you're ready to start posting videos on YouTube, check out this video here. It's about why it's a brilliant idea to start your YouTube channel even if no one watches. It'll help you see why starting before you feel ready might be the smartest thing to do.